We've got breaking news out of the NFL. The Jets and Titans are swapping D linemen. Our Jonathan Jones reports that New York is sending defensive end Jermaine Johnson to Tennessee for nose tackle T'Vondre Sweat. Johnson will team back up with Robert Saleh in Nashville after the pair worked together for 3 seasons with the Jets. Last season, he tallied 3 sacks and 43 tackles. Sweat, meanwhile, heads to New York after spending his first 2 NFL seasons anchoring that Titans defense. For more on that trade, we now bring in our D lineman, Lijay Douzable. And Lijay, first, I just have to ask you, what is your reaction to this trade, knowing it involves your Jets and seeing the swap happen?
From a personal level, Zach, this one hurts just because Jermaine Johnson's my little brother. But from a schematic standpoint and business standpoint, this is a win-win by both teams. When you look at Jermaine Johnson, he gets back with Robert Saleh, as you alluded to earlier in your intro. And let's not forget his second year. He had a Pro Bowl year and went to the Pro Bowl. Now, in year 3, he tore his Achilles. So this past year, he was working his way back from that. And talking to people that have torn their Achilles, it's usually the second year removed from the torn Achilles is where you feel like yourself again. So he's going into a contract year with Robert Saleh, the guy that drafted him, that traded up in the draft to get him. He is so excited about this move. I talked to Robert Saleh this morning. He's so excited to get his guy back as well. And from the Jets' perspective, T'Vondre Sweat is a guy that is going to fit what they want to do schematic-wise, right? Robert Saleh is more of an attacking style defense. Well, when you look at what Aaron Glenn's going to do, they're going to switch to the 3-4, which is going to be, they need space eaters. That's what T'Vondre Sweat does. The Jets were a bottom 5 run defense last year. T'Vondre Sweat helps in that manner. And also, you look at it, you get to save some money by trading Jermaine Johnson away and getting a young ascending player in T'Vondre Sweat. Again, personal-wise, it hurts because I'm a Jet at heart and Jermaine Johnson's my little brother. But from a business standpoint, this made sense on both ends.
Do you think this trade only gets done because of Robert Saleh now being in Tennessee? And if he's not there and able to vouch for Johnson, we don't see this trade happening? Or would it be inevitable that the Jets would try to trade away Johnson?
There was rumors this whole offseason Jermaine Johnson was going to get traded. A lot of people thought it maybe could have happened last year when Aaron Glenn came in, but he was coming off the torn Achilles. I look at it this way. I don't think that Jermaine Johnson was part of the foreseeable future for the Jets. So you want to always try to get some draft capital or assets in return for a player. You just don't want him to walk in free agency. So there was rumors that he was going to get traded. There were rumors that Breece Hall last year was going to get traded. It looks like the Jets will go on and tag him. But I'm not surprised that this trade happened because it just didn't seem like Jermaine was going to be part of the foreseeable future. I thought this was a win on both sides because, yes, you trade away a good player who is the heartbeat, some would say, of that defense and a great locker room guy, but you get a young ascendant player that can really help you in the run defense aspect.
Yeah, what about Sweat's game do you like when you look at how he fits in with what New York is trying to build right now?
You can't move him off the ball. Not with one person, Zach. He's that dominant when it comes to the run game. And we saw the pairing of him and Jeffrey Simmons become one of the better duos in all of football. And that is something sorely the Jets need. They really struggled stopping the run. I alluded to it earlier, Zach. They were a bottom 5 run defense. T'Vondre Sweat will help that from day one. They still have Harrison Phillips in there as well, and Javon Briggs, who's the guy they got off the waiver wire who really showed well last year. So now you're starting to see how this scheme is going to come together with the bigger bodies in that middle of the defense to slow down that run. So T'Vondre Sweat also has upside as a pass rusher. Even though he's a big body defensive tackle, has some athletic ability and some agility to really push the pocket and affect quarterbacks.
Given everything you've already said so far, I can definitely tell you feel like it's a net positive for both sides of this, but I have to get the official grade on the trade for both sides for this one. Where do you begin?
For the Tennessee Titans, I'm going to give them a B+ because you get a guy that is familiar with the scheme already, a guy that's going into a contract year, so he's going to be highly motivated in Jermaine Johnson. Again, already has some synergy with Robert Saleh, had a Pro Bowl year with him. And for the New York Jets, I'm going to give it a B because T'Vondre Sweat is a young ascending player, and he's going to help them in regards to their run defense, which was a bottom 5 run defense in all the NFL. I think Jermaine Johnson as a player is a little bit better, but he's also older. So that's why I gave the Tennessee Titans a B+. But I think the Jets did a really good job saving money in the cap, but also getting a young, cheap, ascending player. I give them a B.
Jermaine Johnson going over to the Titans, but the Jets certainly getting back someone that they are very excited about for the future. He's Lige Douzable giving us the ins and outs of that trade. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. As always, my guys, we look towards the NFL draft coming up before we know it, and you look towards what the Jets and Titans might look to do, and potentially it's get some more help over on defense. Arvell Reese, if you ask Ryan Wilson, will be taken second overall and headed to New York. And Ruben Bain Jr., who we saw wreak havoc in that backfield for Miami coming off the edge, projected to go fourth overall to the Tennessee Titans.
Versus the 5 seed and the New York Jets. Tough matchup. Evan, where are you going?
All right, I'm going to say the Jets have the worse quarterback situation than the Browns, even though the Browns have Watson on the team, and I have said that I believe Watson will be the opening day starter as we sit here today. But here's why I say the Browns have a better situation than the Jets. I can make up in my head that there is a chance that the Cleveland Browns have a early 20-year-old, 22-year-old, whatever Shedeur is, quarterback that could be their quarterback for the next decade. It's not off the board that they may have their quarterback for the next decade. It is completely off the board that the Jets have their quarterback for the next decade, and it's completely off the board that the Jets have a path to get one at this point. So I would say the Jets are in a worse spot than the Browns are, despite the Browns having Watson on the team.
David.
Yeah, when you say Deshaun Watson, week 1 starter, that makes me want to put the Browns in the worst position just off of principle alone. But Evan is right. You could possibly have a franchise quarterback on your roster with Shedeur Sanders. Like, there is a world in which he figures this thing out and he comes out this year after having a full offseason of training camp, after being a guy who's earned that starting spot, where he could be a good to serviceable, even, really good quarterback for the Browns. The Jets have no pathway to that. The Jets got a worse situation.
Okay, you guys say that the Jets advance. Vegas East has an issue with this.
You guys are wrong, because the Jets have a 2 firsts this year. They have 3 firsts next year. They have the ability to do this, and they're probably going to be starting from scratch next season with a new head coach, a type of organization. So the Jets are actually in a perfect spot to have their QB situation fixed.
The Jets are never in a perfect spot to do anything.
Yeah. When was the last time the Jets picked the perfect quarterback for the Jets?
I stand corrected. They have been in perfect spots before. They never capitalized on those perfect spots, maybe.
And the Browns also could stink and have a high pick, too, to figure out a quarterback.
And by the way, the Browns, this is going to sound wild, but the Browns have had success picking quarterbacks recently. Baker was okay for them. Wasn't number 1 pick, overall pick good, but he was okay for them. Won a playoff game, or played in a playoff game, right? Did he win a playoff game or won a playoff? Whatever it is. He did,
yes,
yeah.
Against the Steelers.
So, technically, that wasn't a bust. It just didn't work out for the long haul, and he was better in Tampa than he was in Cleveland. But
also, the Browns have 2 first-round picks also.
Also, though, the Jets have had a better – Mark Sanchez had more success than any of those Browns.
That's true.
Good point.
With that team.
Yeah,
so.
and he had two conference championship games, and people do not give them credit for that enough.
16 years ago.
No,
I'm just saying. All right.
So Jets advance?
Yeah, because David and I already picked the Jets, so it's 2 versus 1.
So the 5 seed and the Jets advance. Moving to the other side of the bracket. The number 2 seed, Minnesota Vikings. Questions around J.J. McCarthy. You want to bring in competition for him, but who? Versus the number 7 seed, the Arizona Cardinals. They're likely moving on from Kyler Murray. If so, who is going to come in and replace him? David, we'll start with you first.
I think the Cardinals are in a worse situation because I think the Vikings are a desirable location. They may have Aaron Rodgers. I think that they have the weapons there that the quarterback will want to get there. I think that is a place for you to want to play for the Vikings. I think they have more options than the Cardinals do currently.
All right, I think the worst quarterback situation between these two would be the Minnesota Vikings because the Minnesota Vikings are way closer to success, and thus not having an average or above quarterback, I think is a big negative for them. I am not a Kyler Murray guy by any stretch of the imagination. That said, I want to be very clear on something. I'm glad you matched these 2 teams up. I think these 2 teams should trade quarterbacks.
If you're Arizona, why would you want J.J. McCarthy?
Because of the fact that you have Jacoby Brissett on your team, or you're going to have Jacoby Brissett, who's an amazing person and an amazing mentor and an amazing guy to put an arm around a young quarterback, and you take a flyer on a guy that was a top 10 pick. You're a stinky team. You rewind the clock a little bit when it comes to where Kyler is age-wise and where J.J. is age-wise, and you see if you can be the team that brings something out of him, all while planning to draft the quarterback in next year's draft. I think that the Minnesota Vikings, instead of bringing in competition for J.J. McCarthy, I think they should trade J.J. McCarthy. I think it's clearly an issue. I think when he plays, how he plays, where he plays has become way too much